Today we're going to change out the trolling motor on my 1986 BassTracker. The first one lasted about 34 years and it's about time for a new one. The new one is a Minn Kota Edge. It's got 55 pounds of thrust and it should be more efficient. Let's see how this goes. Everyone knows with a BassTracker you have a great big panel with a little bitty hole. Pulling the wires out of the way and get your arm through there is difficult. And also notice when I did start unscrewing it, the nuts were hand tight. They just came right off in my hands. And I only found one washer, which is strange. With the old motor off, I get to start laying out the new motor. This in reality took about 3 hours as I stressed over each little position, but I narrowed it down to about 20 seconds just for you guys. A quick suggestion, if you're going to make a lot of pencil marks, maybe the final markup should be in a Sharpie. When taking the cover off the bracket, it makes the trolling motor holder top heavy, so a block of wood would have been very nice at this point. The instructions say pick any 6 of the bracket holes to use for your anchor bolts. I made sure I picked 6 that I could actually reach. I thought I could handle this part by myself, but after crawling underneath there, I realized I needed to call for some help. Now, to prepare the cake pan. For a step to be made out of a cake pan, you have to cut a notch out for where the wire harness from the pedal actually can fit. So I cut that down and it revealed a sharp edge, so I had to do something about that. And yes, that is a real live cake pan. I ordered one of those Panther steps, and that thing was huge. It took my entire deck up, so cake pan it'll be. First, file the burrs down to get rid of anything that might pick. I found some old tubing laying around from a previous project, and I figured that'd be a good way to cut down the center, add some marine goop, and protect those wires from being cut by this sharp edge. I used some duct tape to hold the tubing in position as the marine goop cured. I knew I would be flipping and turning the cake pan throughout this modification process. I had done some research and I saw where VA Bass Junkie, on his channel, he was talking about putting in a step. On his step, he said he cut into the support underneath that deck. So I had to find where that support was, measure it out, and then measure out where I wanted this cake pan to go. One advantage to a cake pan is only 2¼ inches deep. It only comes to the top of the support, so I didn't have to cut through it. But I really wanted to make sure my measurements were accurate, and that's where you get a little nervous. At this point, I'm thinking logically, I've measured it out, everything's gonna work, I'll just cut a hole in this deck. But even now, rewatching this part of the film, on the inside, I'm screaming, holy moly, what did I just do? I just cut a hole in my deck. But everything worked out, I guess. So don't be afraid of such a modification. Well, there's a hole in my deck. And yes, butterflies were in my stomach. I was thinking, what did I just do? Well, I'm in for $1 now, so we went ahead and cleaned up and start modifying a little bit more. Now it's time to mark some screw holes and do some pre-drilling. I noticed during the layout process that I would need a corresponding notch for the wiring harness, so I had to cut that out real quick. I pondered what I would do in the middle of a rainstorm. I knew I had to evacuate water out of the pan, and I also wanted the drain to be high enough towards the front so that it would go around that support and that little dry area where I have extra life preservers and other gear I'd like to stay dry. So I marine gooped another section of tubing through a drain that I found from my leftover plumbing fittings, and that worked really nicely. After I finished drilling and all my modifications, I sprayed the entire pan down with a spray coat of polyurethane, and then I went back to the deck and sprayed the exposed wood with polyurethane, then let it dry for the night. Installing the cake pan was relatively uneventful. Stainless steel screws screwed right into the pre-drilled holes in the deck, no problem. Now to install and wire the thing up. I decided to go with a plug like I had before. I'd really like to put a new plug on there and run some heavier duty wiring. I added a 60 amp fuse in the back because this is a higher draw application, but I went ahead and put on the old plug. I'll decide what to do later. Yes, I know, I'm not using marine fittings, and I want to do that, and I'll probably do that when I change plugs, but for now, I'm using the same fittings I've always used. I'm just taping the daylights out of it. I did find some marine fittings as soon as I finished installing everything, so I'll get it back to where it should be soon. Okay, a quick test in the shop. It works. Now off to the water. And you drop it in and it worked like a charm. Easy peasy.